In association with Get a Tax Rebate, 1895 Sports, Mesa Vienna Aesthetics, CDX Security.
Okay, welcome to the Oddball Woody Show. This is episode 8, and today we're going down a bit of a different angle, really, with a podcast where we initially started, which is good because, you know, it shows that we're thinking about the show. And just give you a little brief onto my reasoning why, really. I had a meeting with the Warrington Wolves CEO, Carl Fitzpatrick, last week, and during the meeting, we were speaking about the podcast, and he said that this was one of his favourite episodes, which was the Might Win It podcast. Then I went into the club shop to buy some merchandise for my kids for Christmas, and 3 spectators came up to me, or three fans of the Warrington Wolves, and said that was the most enjoyable one, which it baffled me. I couldn't get my head around it because we've had Tony Adams on, who's a sporting icon. We've had Ryan Giggs, sporting icon. Paul Cullen, who's a Warrington icon. Martin Afire and Sean Edwards. And these are sporting guys who I thought, these are going to be our most watched, you know, podcasts. But it's not at the minute. It's Might Win It, and he's running away with it. And it's just inspired me a little bit, or got me thinking we need more business people on here, because I think people relate to that. Although we try and get the content out on here where, you know, we try and relate sport to everyday life and business, I think, you know, listening to people who run businesses, who have hit the top, hit the rock bottom and bounced back up, I think they're really inspiring stories. So that's why we've got today's guest on. It's James Perryman. I met James roughly just over 12 months ago at a networking event at St Helens Rugby League Club, and James was one of the main talkers there, and he was speaking about his current business, where he's a business coach, and what led him to that. So I just thought it'd be a really interesting story to get James on. Unfortunately, he's from Widnes, but we'll not hold that against him, and I'll bring him in. James, how you doing?
I'm good, mate. And does it matter from that I'm down the south? So I'm in Widnes, but I'm not from Widnes. But it doesn't count, does it? I'm either a southerner and I'm from Widnes. I'm buggered either way.
Mate, you're a Widnes, Widnesies or Widstonian, whatever they call them these days. But yeah, mate, for me, you're from Widnes. You know, you live there, you work there, and you play rugby there now. So yeah, you may as well be an adopted Widnes lad.
Definitely.
But how's things going, James? Have you been up to much?
Good, thanks, Paul. Yeah, I've been up to loads, absolutely loads. It's, I mean, you know, all your listeners know what a year it's been. It's been up and down, but I've kind of taken this year, certainly from March and April, to not kind of sit back and just watch what happens and see the world go by. I just decided that the right thing is just to keep focused and keep trying and keep being present as a business owner. And help people, you know, as a coach, as you said, that's what I do. There's a lot of people this year who have needed help, who have, you know, lost their jobs, they've been put on furlough, or they've realised, actually, do you know what, this job I've got, this corporate life I've got it's just bullshit. It's not what I want to do. It's, you know, I want something better, but I don't know what I don't know about starting a business or leaving, or, you know, preparing for an interview or doing an interview over Zoom. So I've actually been busy, and it's got busier over the last couple of months, and now it's chocker. It really is chocker. Which is great. You know, I'd rather have this than you know, just an empty diary ahead.
Do you think this lockdown then has just made people, a lot of people anyway, reevaluate where they're at? Because, you know, I speak to people who they'll stick with a job because it's what they know. It's not necessarily because they're happy, and they know that they're guaranteed an income every single month. They hate waking up on a Monday morning. You know, they love Friday because it's a weekend and they've no work. Yep. But do you think that's made people reevaluate and think, do you know what, there's more to life than work, and I want to do something I enjoy, even if it is less financially?
Completely. I'll give you examples of 2 clients I've got where they're kind of at the both extremes of that. So there's one guy who I worked with kind of years and years ago, back in corporate career, which I'm sure we'll touch on. And he moved over to Australia probably about 10 years ago, and so he's still there now. He's doing really well. He's got a good job. He's earning a good salary. He's got a nice car, nice house, all that kind of stuff. All his boxes are ticked. But he got in contact probably about 3 months ago to say, I've had enough of this. I'm working all the hours. I'm never present at home. And what I've realized from having to have more time at home and not be able to go out so much is I miss it. And I need to change. So there's someone who's at the top, got everything he wants, but he's not happy. And that's his measure. It's not a financial measure, but it's a measure. And so he wants to change. So I'm helping him think about what he does next. Is it a corporate job that's easier? Is it starting his own business? He's got the luxury of deciding. I've got another client who is a South American guy. So he kind of flicks his time between London and Brazil, but he organizes events. That's what his business is, like big events for big companies. And of course that just fell on its ass in March. There was just nothing. So he wants to completely reinvent himself. He wants to be a fine pastry chef. So he's applied for, top restaurants to learn, probably no doubt, might see him on MasterChef at some point, but he just wants to start again. And he's, what is he, 36, 37? But he's just like, I'll do it. It's fine. I'll just relearn. I'll go back to college. I'll reapply. So, I'm helping him like with the tactical bits, like a CV and a covering letter. And, because English isn't his prominent language, but it's going to be English businesses and I guess restaurants and so on that interview him. He wants to know how to get his language on point, how to interview on Zoom, this kind of thing. So, you've got two extremes, someone who's at the top but wants change, and someone whose business life has come on to a hold and needs to change to bring some money in, to have a living.
It's interesting that I always find it fascinating when people reach the top of the game, they're earning financial, and I think a lot of people expect that those people will be happy and they'll be content with earning a decent salary, and being at the top, but it's not always the case, is it?
No, not at all. It's and it never. People say you've got all the money in the world, you must be happy, but what does it buy you? It might buy you nice things, but it's hard graft to get there, and that means you make sacrifices and stuff falls by the wayside. And usually it is your health, because you're not exercising, you're sacrificing the gym, you're not eating well, you're drinking too much, probably eating too many burgers, sandwiches from the services, that kind of thing, and you're not at home. And even if you're at home, you're not present. So, what does that mean? Ultimately, for some people, that ends up with divorce and not seeing the kids and, the kind of crap that goes with it just to chase the buck. It's not, it's just not worth it. And I think more people are realizing that. They're realizing they can have a happier life, and it's not just about being at the top of their career, corporate game.
Yeah. Like I say, I do always find it interesting, and I have quite common conversations with people because I'm 39 now, but people who are coming out of the rugby career are sort of starting again and really pushing themselves, and you can see that they want to, because they've played at a good level in a sports capacity, they've still got that drive to do it in a work capacity, but you can see that they're sacrificing things which I think they might regret, and they're necessarily, it is affecting their health. But at the minute, they're so tunnel-visioned towards it. For me, I think as I've got older, I've realised what's a little bit more important. And for me, is time is the big one for me. I'm not really financially driven like I was when I was playing rugby. Do you find that that's what people are trying to get back when they're trying to change a career?
Yeah, definitely. They're trying to get time. Time is the thing they are spending badly. So they're up early, they're working late, maybe even on the weekends, and when they say they're switched off and at home, they're not present. They've probably got their head in their phone or their laptop, and they'll have their kids tugging at the shirt or whatever, saying, "Come on, can we go to the park? Can we watch TV? Can we do something?" And so they're not spending the time they've got in a really positive way, and in a way that is good for their family, leaves a legacy or anything like that. And I think that's what people realize. And and they've realised it this year because they've had time. There hasn't been the excuses of needing to be in the car at 5 in the morning or stuck on the M6 till 7 at night. You know, maybe a bit now, but certainly for a good 4 or 5 months, they were at home, and it would have become more painfully clear to them that they've been spending their time in a bad way. And, you know, and I think that's why they're either making that choice and going, do you know what, I'm going to try and be a bit more present at home and get a better balance, or I still want to do well and I still want to be really successful. So I'm going to use that time for my own development, getting a coach, doing some online learning, reading more books about stuff, whatever it might be. But I think they've, you know, it is your currency. You know, you've only got so much of it. You don't know when it's going to run out. So you're better off using it well now than when it's too late.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when people were speaking about the whole COVID situation within the first couple of months, and they was talking about furlough and being locked down, and I'll be honest with you, I was saying I'm actually enjoying it, because my life was so full on. It was 100 mile an hour. I took loads of different things on. Work was manic. I'd have other little challenges away from work as well, where I was trying to start up a business and I had my fingers in a few pies.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, everything was taken out of my hands, and it's as though something was telling me to slow down. And all of a sudden, I'm stuck at home. And I'm stuck at home thinking, this is actually not that bad. You know, I've been running around, you know, probably not in an healthy way, trying to do 101 things and trying to please loads of people and trying to make myself financially stable. But I think there's more to life than this. So for me, furlough was actually an enjoyable situation. I lost a stone and a half because I was constantly doing circuit training. I was out in nature walking my dog.
Yeah.
You know, I know it was only meant to have an hour, but I was doing more than an hour outside initially. But I was just absolutely loving it. So for me, you know, I've taken a step back. I'm working for myself. I've been offered a couple of jobs, which has been really, really hard for me to turn them down because my egos took over, and it's going to be a little bit more financial, but that financial reward's not worth the extra effort of the time that I'm going to be giving up. That has been really, really challenging for me. Do you find that as a coach where people get opportunities and so they'll come to you and say, this is where I am, this is where I want to be, and then halfway through that process they get offered something that's going to take them into a completely different direction. You've got to sort of, I don't know whether you talk them out of it or tell them to make a decision on what the end target was meant to be.
Yeah, that happens. And I think the clear thing when I'm working with people is to get their head in the right space really early. So that whole bit you talked around about, you know, people who have got the money coming in, so they're hitting their kind of the financials, but they're not happy ultimately. I do that early on with clients, and I sometimes it's a bit of an eye opener. And you know what? Sometimes you get a tear or two from people when you've really held it up in front of them. But when you take them through an exercise that says, you tell me what's the most important thing out of, I'll give you a list of 20 things, and they could be money, they could be recognition, family, health, religion, it could be fame, whatever it is, 20 things. You tell me what are the most important things for you. And typically people choose 8 or 9. They say these are the highest important ones. And I think that's great. That's cool. Now tell me what the top 3 are. And more often than not, it's money, family, and health. And that's probably because people think I probably should say money, family, and health. They should be the 3 important things. And so I say, right, cool. How's that going then? Oh, brilliant. You know, I've got 20 grand savings. I'm earning 4 grand a month, whatever it might be. I've got a nice lifestyle. Cool. What does it take to get that? Oh, do you know what? I'm up and at it 7 o'clock every morning, James. I'm at the laptop. I've got clients in wherever, talking with them through to the end of the day. I'm buzzing. I'm loving it. Cool. So when do you get to see your family? Well, you know, I grab a bite to eat with them at 8:30. You know, usually then get back on the laptop again. Weekend, I try and get in with my mates to play golf or whatever. Okay, so you're not really seeing your family then? No, not really. Okay, and how's your health doing? Yeah, no, you know, I usually need a couple of pints of beer most nights just to get to sleep, you know, because I'm wired. and I kind of eat on the go, and the weekends, you know, I treat the missus to a takeout. Okay, so you're not healthy then, are you? And no, not really. So you told me the three most important things is wealth, family, and health, and you're only getting one of them. Should we go from there then? And at that point, that's that light bulb moment where they go, shit, yeah, I've just told you what's important to me, and I'm not getting it in my life. So we set the boundaries of where do you want to go? You know, if you're the guy, my client in Australia, and you want to break out of your corporate career because that environment isn't good for you, because you're not being present at home, you're working loads of hours, you're actually becoming quite an arse at home, then let's agree that your options are you either want to break out of it and start your own business or businesses, or you want the corporate life because it's stable, but it's got to change. It's got to be less intense. And you get them on that page so that when something like that comes up, you know, an option for another job, you know, it's with that company that I wanted to work with 10 years ago, they've knocked on my door. You hold the mirror back up to them and say, remember what you told me 2 sessions ago, 3 sessions ago? You tell me how that job is going to help you get better in terms of being present with your family. You tell me how it's going to help your health and get you losing 1.5 stone and, you know, better metabolism and BMI and all that kind of stuff. And when they can't, that's the point where, you know, you are kind of dragging them back. They've got to make their own decisions. They're adults, but you've got to just pull them back so they can look at it and go, am I going to regret this in 3 years' time or in a year's time? That's, you know, I think I've got a job to do that because they're paying me to be their coach. But it gets in the way. And I'm like you know, you get opportunities and you see it and that little thing in your head goes, oh, that would be a mint job. You know, imagine that, you know, working into the director of whatever and being able to travel, whatever it is. And then you stop and go, but I made a decision to step away from that 5 years ago. That's why I started my own business. And, you know, starting your own business takes hard work. There's no denying that. But you've got the freedom and you've got that choice. And you've just got to stay true to it. And like you've done, where you've just had to just let your ego get in the way and go, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not, because I value this time. I value having choices that I can make that a lot of people just don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think it's, you know, I've stepped away from rugby 5 years ago, and it's probably taken me 5 years to learn the lesson that I probably am better off working for myself. Just because I always say, like, with a rugby environment, although you've got an head coach and you've got a CEO and you've got an owner of the club, you do feel like you're your own boss because, you know, everything's down to you. You know, whether you stay hydrated, you get enough rest, you put the effort into your training, you're basically running your own business, which is you. You know, you are the commodity in the sport. So I think when I come away from it, to have a normal 9-to-5 job and to have a boss over me, sort of constantly watching, it's so foreign and different to what I'm used to. But again, you can get drawn in financially, and it's hard to sit back sometimes and go, well, hang on a minute. I know that I'm better off working for myself, but this is, you know, someone's patting me up back here and asking me to do something for them, and it makes you feel good. But I think personally, like, I'm better off working for myself and doing it that way. So, you know, I'm going to have to not let my ego kick in and you know, stick to what I'm doing at the minute because I'm happy, you know, and that's ultimately the end goal for me. I often say, you know, like, my dad passed away suddenly when he was 44. He had a brain hemorrhage one day and he was dead. So I always have that in the back of my mind, that life's too short. So I don't want to be unhappy. I try not to be, you know, and it's about being, you know, happy, having time with your kids. And I think ultimately when you see people who have had money, and, you know, sports people on the podcast, they've had money, and ultimately the thing that makes them feel content is helping people and, you know, helping to change their lives, which I suppose you're doing.
Yeah. Do you know what? And it's interesting just listening to what you were saying there. And I think, you know, when we met, like you say, like a year ago, and then we met up for a coffee at Costa shortly afterwards. And if I look back to the you then compared to the you now, there's a change in you without a doubt, you know, and And what plays with that also, you've lost a stone and a half. I know when I'm really serious about exercise, and when I'm rugby training twice a week and you've got Saturday matches and I'm getting to the gym in between, if I feel better physically, I work better up here. Mentally, I'm more on it. I'm more astute. I don't procrastinate, because I just feel like, you use the word commodity. I feel like a better functioning machine, and that makes me better. And it means that, I can work smarter in less hours because I'm not piddling around just, and find myself lost in some utterly crap thing that I don't even need to be doing. But you're right. I think you go through points where you realize life is fragile. You lost your dad suddenly. I lost my mum suddenly. I was only 10 when she died, and she was like 35. So fast forward when I'm 35 and I've got a 10-year-old, suddenly I'm really aware. I'm like, I'm too young to go. 35. My son's too young to lose me, age 10. And it does make you step back and go, so what am I doing with my life age 35? And, I was still in the middle of my career. I was actually at a good point of it then. I'd gone through a whole crappy period of just working too hard, but I was on the better end of it then. But it does make you step back and go, am I doing the right stuff here? Is this, will I look at myself and think you've got good things going on?
Take us back a little bit though, James, because obviously you're a coach now, but you've not always worked for yourself, and you committed a lot of your life to O2, working in their offices. So just digress a little bit and just tell us a little bit about your background and what took you to where you are now, really.
Yeah, definitely. So I joined O2 or whatever they were back in 1999, Cellnet, BT Cellnet. I joined there. So and then I was with them for about 15 years. So I saw them become O2. Then they got taken over by Telefonica, big Spanish company. And I didn't know at that point, even then, 99, what was I, 24? I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I wasn't too clued up on what I enjoyed doing. I think at that point I had lofty dreams that, I'm going to be in this corporate career, and you just get taken up the corporate ladder. When you're in a big company, you kind of like a hand will come and pick you and go, you're going to be the manager of that team now, and then that team. And I learned painfully about 7 or 8 years in, I learned it doesn't work like that. It doesn't, you've got to be smart about how you work, but actually you've got to look after yourself, and you can't say yes to everything, and you can't work all the hours God sends. Because I tried doing that and managing a team that was spread across Runcorn, ironically, Glasgow, Slough, London. So I was away from home 4 days a week, getting back on the weekends, washing, ironing, played football at that point. I hadn't even started rugby. But my life was just full on. And I got about 8 years in, so probably about 15 years ago, I suddenly just came head to toe in psoriasis, like really quickly. It was around this time of year. And I went to the doctors, and we talked around lifestyle, so what do you do for a living? How's your health? What do you do for exercise? All that kind of thing. And he basically said, your body's given up. You're working too hard. Some people, probably mental health wasn't as big a thing then as it is now, and openly talked around or recognized then. But I guess at that point, actually, it was more physical health that took its impact with me. So there I was, head to toe, these red blotches everywhere. And I tell you what, that's an eye-opener. That's a wake-up call to really think about, how am I working? Why am I doing what I'm doing? How do I step back from this? Because I can't do this many hours. I can't be traveling around all the time and just living this stress. And so getting through that, what I realized I needed to do, not only in terms of to improve my health and lifestyle, I actually needed to change my job. I needed to do something different. But I didn't know where to look, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I was just too fresh-faced and naive in kind of corporate life. And it was through having a good coach that my career changed. So I thought, you know what, I need someone to help me who's quite senior, who I respect. I respect their decision. I would listen to what they say. And so I kind of found the right person, and, hold him in credit to this day, literally, many, many years on, because he listened, he asked me really good questions that really made me think about stuff, and uncomfortable questions at times. But he said, this might challenge you a bit, might mean you can't answer it right now. You've got to go away and think about it. But he asked me questions that made me think about, what do I enjoy doing? Where am I at my best? What do I need around me from a work perspective? That question about what's important to me in life. And that whole process helped me kind of transform what was the rest of my corporate career. So I kind of moved between a different number of roles, but they all centered around more working with people and helping people. And that was from apprentices and graduates, even people doing their work experience, aged 15, 16, but helping them think about making really good decisions early on in their career, and the right decisions to set themselves up properly, through to then coaching people who were like middle managers, or even people who were perhaps going to be the directors of O2 in the future, helping them think about some of those finer details about becoming really good leaders and becoming really more self-aware and able to make brilliant business decisions. And it was only because I went through the coaching process that I realized I enjoy it, and found that actually I'm quite good at it with people. So when the opportunity came to leave 5 years ago, I just jumped at it, Paul. I literally just went, do you know what? I've had enough of this corporate gig. I've done my time. It's wiped me out. It's physically battered me. And my life's at a good point now. My son, my stepson, they're at good ages where I don't have to worry so much about that. My partner was still in a corporate role, so the risk was low. And so I went for it. And that's where I launched my business, Momentous, and really focused on coaching and helping people who were like me. Ironically, a lot of people I started working with were the me of 15 years ago, in the middle of their career and lost, confused, and not knowing what on earth they were doing or where they're going.
Yeah, interesting as well, because I think, when we sort of get educated, we leave school and then we're sort of left to our own devices. But there is help out there for people who are struggling with the career, because I think we're expected just to get a job, work till we're 65, and then we retire. And that bit in between, there's so many different challenges that come along. One, you could lose your job. Yeah. Two, you could potentially fall out of love with your job. Three, professional rugby player, you're forced to retire because you can't play forever. There's so many different challenges that come with it, and you're just expected to get over it. But I think you hit the nail on the head there. I do it with quite a lot of things. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yep.
So I wouldn't. I'm going to come along and do some work with yourself, and because I find it hard to find my path, and I don't know whether I'm asking the right questions. I don't know whether I'm looking in the right place. I don't know whether I'm making the right decisions or the bad decisions. I've just got to have the decisions I've made in the past since being on my own devices. I've just got to trust the process, and I've made some bad ones, So, it's like say, if you don't know, you don't know. So you need someone to educate you. If my tap was leaking, I wouldn't go and try and fix it myself.
Yeah.
I'd get a plumber. But I think we find it hard on that concept, don't we? From a business point of view, to ask for help. To look, I'm struggling here with my career, or with what I want to do with my life. Can you help me?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's probably even harder for blokes as well. I think for them to kind of reach out and get help. I've had a couple of clients in the past where the first contact I've had from them might be a message on LinkedIn or something where they said, "Do you know what? I've been following your posts. I know I've not liked them. I've not commented on them. I've not, you wouldn't know that I've been watching them, but I have, and I've read your profile and I listened to that podcast you did and whatever else. And I think you're the right person to help me. But I don't know what to do. So I'm just kind of sending you a message." And that's the best step. You've just made the first step, by just going, "I think I need some help. are you the right person? And we can have that conversation. And I might not be the right person for them for whatever reason, but you know what? I'll point them to someone that is, because they've done the biggest and the best thing they can by just saying, I don't know what I don't know, or I just know that this doesn't feel right now and something's got to give.
At Get a Tax Rebate, we make it easy for you or your business to claim back thousands of pounds in tax. Most people, like Jane and Philip, don't realise that they are owed money from HMRC, so they never claim. All you need to do is fill out a simple form on our website and we'll do the rest. It's that simple. We've also helped business owners claim back millions of pounds in research and development R&D tax credits. So if you're working in a business or own one, contact us today to see if we can help you claim back tax and improve your cash flow. Get a Tax Rebate, your tax refund concierge.
$18.95 Sports and State of Mind, the ultimate lineup.
Macy Vienna Aesthetics, based in Wigan. For all your wrinkle treatments, dermal fillers, lip enhancement, energy boost injections, immune boost injections. Please visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Macy Vienna Aesthetics.
CDX Security, proudly supporting Rugby League.
What have you found the most challenging about being a business coach? What do you find most challenging about, taking somebody through a process?
Good question. I think there's a challenge of how you remain as a coach and you don't become more of a mentor. So they often get confused, the two. And, a coach is someone that asks the right questions for you to find the answers, whereas a mentor has the answers, and you use them in different ways. And I can flick between them. So, if I'm helping someone start a new business, then I'm going to be a coach to start with to find out, why do they want to do it? Is their head in the right place with it? Are they clear on what it means, and that it's going to take risks? It's going to take some gutsy decisions. And then I might put a mentor hat on to say, right, you know what? The first thing you've got to do is think about who your client base is. So who are your clients? Let me help you think about who they are. Let me tell you what you've got to do to, if you want to register a company, think about a website, think about your marketing plan. So I might flick between them. And so that can be hard sometimes. And you've got to be clear with clients on how you're helping them. But I think one of the hardest things is, when you've got someone who, let's take you, for example, you've been at the pinnacle of your career, in sport, and then you've had to stop. You're then moving into business. And then you come to someone like me saying, James, I need some help. It's sometimes a bit easy for a bit of imposter syndrome to come in and go, why is this guy coming to me? Like, he's been up there. He knows how to get to the top. Why does he need me? But it's because he does, and the guy in Australia who's got a much more successful corporate career than I've ever had. And you think, God, is he just going to see through me and think, how can you help me? But you've got to step back and go, but it's what I am today. It's what I do now. It's with the track record I've got, with clients who have successfully left their jobs, or they've got the promotion they're after. They've got their team better engaged because I help them. That's why I'm good at what I do. That's why you get clients. And that can be hard sometimes, when you just feel that imposter syndrome slipping in, and it's just a horrible thing. And I think I've learned, you can't ever get rid of it. I know when it's there. I've just learned how to kind of face up to it and kind of square up to it and go, right, you're not going to beat me. What am I worried about? And let's just overcome it. And sometimes it's hard also to know when you can't help a client anymore. And I hear horror stories of people, who are just continuing working with people to take their cash when they're not helping them, and they're actually making it worse. There's a time when you just go, do you know what? You've got this now. I've helped you. You've got your direction. You know where you sit. You know which way you're going. You don't need me now because I'm going to sit on the phone for an hour with you or on Zoom or meet with you. I'm going to take your money and I'm not going to be giving you anything. And that just makes me feel like an imposter, and I'm not going to do that. But it's tough to just make that call when the right time is to stop for them.
You know, something you said there about getting the imposter syndrome, and it's quite funny because I was chatting about this the other week to someone, and they was in a big meeting, not from a corporate background, who've got that imposter syndrome. But it's amazing how we put everybody else on a pedestal, and we think this person they know what they're doing because they might be being successful, they might have something good going on. But, you know, when they're coming and they're reaching out, it's because they don't probably feel that confident in what they're doing, or they need that reassurance as well.
Yeah, and they want an outside view. They want a safe perspective because, you know, when you have got someone, if they're in the middle of their career and they want to stay in a career, but it needs to give a bit and it needs to change, who are they going to go to within the business? Because then someone inside knows that they're not happy and that feels a bit risky. It's easier to go someone outside. And if you're starting your own business, you know, and you're trying to make that work, who do you turn? You can't talk to your prospective clients. You haven't got a business partner necessarily to talk to or a boss. It's just you. So, you know, who are you going to talk to? You know, it is often it's getting that outside view that really makes a difference.
Yeah, I think every person who I know who seems to be doing well business-wise and they're comfortable and they're all in a good place, they all seem to have a mentor, whether that's someone who they pay for or someone who they've worked with in the past and they constantly go to. They all need that person, I would say, who's not emotionally involved in that situation. Yeah. I think when the emotion is taken away and you're getting a different perspective, it can make sense to you, and you can all of a sudden you can see the light, and it's like, yeah, I sort of knew that, but you know, the emotion didn't want me to think that way.
Yeah, totally. And you know, I think everyone needs a coach. I don't have one right now, but I've had a business coach. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because I was a couple of years in, and it was okay, but it wasn't brilliant. And I was thinking, okay, what don't I know? You know, I'm only 2 years into running a business, and you know, maybe I need some help. Maybe I need someone to help me think about the stuff that I just don't know about. So I had a business coach for 6 months, and it was brilliant. You know, just opened my eyes to stuff. And then when I launched my second business, my People Club, that obviously you've kind of helped out and done a kind of a video for me and with me, launching that business, which was a different type of business that was about a membership and about a community and bringing people together. What I've learned through that to apply to my first business is brilliant. And, you know, that's then with a business partner, and we've had help thinking about community marketing, thinking about, what do you call it? Kind of marketing plans and flows and, you know, going from email lists to polls to whatever. It's like, I didn't know this stuff. You know, I kind of, maybe I knew it, but I didn't know how it works. Whereas I do now, and I can put all the pieces together. But yeah, I needed someone to show me. Someone who, like the whole plumbing analogy, I needed the plumber to come fix a tap because I didn't know what I was doing.
What do you think the biggest lesson learned is that you've learned in corporate business so far? If you was to give a tip to someone now, what would you probably say? Look, if you're going to have one tool in your armoury, this is it.
If someone's in their corporate life, if they've got a job and they're not self-employed, if they're still in there, then I guess if it was one tip, it would be to don't hang around with stuff. Make a decision quickly, you know, evaluate stuff quickly and decide if it's something for you or if it's something that's not. Because, you know, you make a decision on a project to pick up or a new customer to chase, you know, if you're in sales, or a new job to take for a couple of years, and if you didn't think it through enough, but you didn't make the decision quickly and the right decision, that could be years wasted, it could be months wasted, and it could come to nothing. And that's, what have you got to show for the end of it? Nothing other than a bad decision. So do you know what? Just weigh it up. And my dad always said to me, if you can't make a decision by the time I count to 10, then the decision's no. It's as simple as that. And I've stuck with that. And I've, when my brother, he's 10 years younger, when he's making a decision about the next step in his career that he's chasing, I'll remind him what our old man said, and just like, right, make the decision right now. And he's like, but I've got to consider this and that and that. And I'm like, bro, that's a decision made. Don't do it.
Yeah.
If your gut doesn't say yes, then it clearly says no.
Yeah. I mean, going back to when we had Paul Cullen on the show, and Cull was talking about when he stepped away from rugby, and he said one thing that he found with working with people who were high up in business and very influential, they had this knack of just making a decision like that. And he said he sort of, one week he was digging holes and got injured. So then the chief executive said, the chairman of the club said, right, you're our new commercial manager, but your first job is to sack the current commercial manager. And he said, and he just made a decision like that. Yeah. And he said, it's such a knack that a lot of people who seem to be successful in business. So it's interesting you said that, because it's been said before, and it's probably something I do think about things probably too much.
Yeah.
If there's one of my weaknesses is overthinking.
Yep.
So, it's probably once I've made a decision, I need to just bang 10 seconds. And if it's any longer, then just make a no.
Yeah. And do you know what? It's part of the talk that you saw at St. Helens. I do quite a bit around personality and behaviours and how we're all different and what it means. And I know through everything I've done that the type of personalities which are great at making decisions in the moment, even if they haven't got all the information they need, they've got enough to make a decision, and they need to make one, they'll make one and they'll stand by it. Those types of people are people that are most typically CEOs and MDs and directors of companies.
Yeah.
Stats prove it. And I think, one of the biggest things I always say to myself, and I get my business partner to do as well, is not overthink stuff. And if we have spent too long thinking about, how should that slide look for the training with this company, or, is it that word or that word? It's like, we've thought too long about it. Just leave it as it is. Yeah. It's that whole 80-20 thing. Just get it so it's good enough. Don't worry about finessing it. And, there'll be a time and a place to finesse, but just do it and then move on.
Yeah. A company that I work for over in Yorkshire, the Henley Group, and one thing that Sean, the owner, one thing that I learned from him is that he did do that a lot. He just made a decision. Where I was contemplating, should I do this, should I do that? He'd come in and say, boom, just get it done. You know, and you're right, it seems like it is a common trait when you look back, or when I look back on the people who I've worked with, whether it's in sport or away from sport, they just seem to have this, boom, they'll make a decision, and they sort of, and they can live with the decision. Yeah. See, another thing with me is I can make a decision and then think, have I made the right decision? Is it the wrong decision? And I can start thinking about the decision that I've been making.
Totally. And if you can pick up on, and this is why I love personalities, you pick up on how people make decisions, it makes it easier to engage with them. And as someone that runs your own business, you've got to sell yourself, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, you've got to get people to say yes. And people are different. So you've got those people we just talked around. You just tell them exactly what's involved, what's in it for them, how much it costs, what they can expect as an outcome. You'll get a decision. But some people aren't wired like that. Some people need to reflect on it. They need to think about asking their partner at home, or their husband or wife, or a business partner, or other people want to do a bit of research and say, well, I'm going to look at other people who are like you, just to see if I think that you're the right price. You've got some good reviews online. You've got the experience. That's what makes them help, make a decision. And if you can pick up on which personality they are, you know what they need to hear. and you can tell them the right thing, and you know when you're not going to get a decision that night, you've got to, it's going to be the next morning. It's as a business owner, it's critical.
Yeah. I mean, if you can briefly, this is what I find interesting, and I found it interesting when I was listening to you at St. Tellings, because as you was describing the 4 different personalities, and I remember you saying, you'll probably be putting names to the people, and the people who I were working with at the time, I was saying, yeah, that's like him, and I see this quite a lot, and when we ask somebody to carry out, an objective at work, but that person doesn't respond how we want them to respond, because we're sort of treating every single individual, the same, really, and not taking into account what is the best approach for them. So can you just briefly touch on what you spoke about that there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And you're right. And it is because you're telling everyone the same way, and you're probably telling them in the way you want to be told. Yeah. And that's the most common thing. So there's the way I presented it is like 4 personalities, and for people who are watching and listening, they probably think, personalities, I've done Myers-Briggs before, I've done Insights, DISC. There are loads of different models out there that are all great. They're all slightly different, but they all come from the same theory. A guy called Carl Jung, who kind of was really the founder of all of this. What I do is bring it to life in terms of people and human beings, because I can't go into a room and start talking with people and think, right, do I think you're, a green character, a blue, a red, or a yellow, or are you an ENTJ? Because I've got to think of the color, and then I've got to think, what on earth did it mean? Whereas if I remember that someone who is a certain type of person, physically a human being, it's so much easier to resonate with, because often it's about how they use their body language. It's about the words you hear them say. It's about the amount of time they say, a long time versus a short time. So you've got 4 people. So first one I talk about is, I call her Edith. And of course, it can be a woman, it can be a bloke. Edith is your person who's the decision maker. Get straight to the point. If you can say something in 10 words, say it in 10 words, not 100. If you say, Edith, I want 2 minutes of your time, and you start taking 5 or 6, you're going to know she's getting pretty hacked off. Her arms will be folded. She'll probably start positioning herself away, and she'll give you the body language that you've run out of time. You've overstayed your welcome. So when you've got someone like Edith, you've got to get straight to the point. And the clues for picking up on someone like that is when they tell you stuff in the shortest time possible. If they're emailing you, they just send you just what you need. There's no, hey, Paul, how was your podcast with James the other day? Carl, isn't it crappy weather out there? Anyway, here's what I promised you. Hope you're well. We must catch up soon. None of that. It's just, here's the info you asked for. That's it. Short and sweet, to the point. And that's that kind of person. You've then got someone who I call Aaron, who is the person that goes to IKEA, buys the sideboard, brings it home, unpacks everything, and then gets all the bits of board out. Board A, puts it against the wall. Board B, opens all the screws up to make sure there are 24 of screw A and 28 of B, and gets them all into piles, then gets the instruction manual, page 1, because they like the process, they like the order of stuff, because stuff has to make sense to them and it has to be logical. And do you know what? When they've opened that sideboard, if they're meant to be 24 screw A and there's 25, like, why is it 25? Like, is the instruction manual wrong? Have I got one spare? Like, where's it meant to, am I going to be holding the screw at the end of it going, where does this go? Because if it doesn't make sense, then it won't work for them. So when you're talking with someone like that, you've got to talk sequentially with them about, what would it be like to work with me from the first conversation we have as a coach, bit of a discovery call, through to what does the first session look like? What am I going to do? What will I need you to do beforehand? Then what will the second and third sessions look like? How long are we going to engage for? Are we going to agree we'll coach for 3 months? Therefore, what does that cost? How do I need you to pay? What happens if you haven't done some homework before we have a next session? All those questions they need to know the answers for, so that they are crystal clear. and then not ever surprised. And you can tell when you're talking with someone like that, because when they send you emails or things, there's lots of bullet points. They like lists. When they, if you're in a room with them, if I'm in a room with someone like that, they tend to get all their pens and they'll put them on the table and they'll all be lined up very neatly and probably in color order. They'd probably go from, all the way through the rainbow or whatever it would be. So they're like super organized. You've got my man Walter, who is Mr. Walk into a room and read the room. So he knows what's going on. He's super sociable, knows lots of people, is the person that connects you to everyone. And as I said, he can just tell what you're feeling straight away. And he's the person that probably won't make a decision straight away. He'll want to reflect on it. He'll want to sleep on it. He'll want to ask other people. And he'll go with the flow. So you might present, you were talking about Henley and what they do. And so you might present him with a couple of options of kind of solutions that are good for him. And they both might look good. And it's like, which decision do I make? I'm not like Edith. I can't just make a decision like that. So he'd probably take pictures and send it to 20 of his mates and say, right, do a poll. Which one do you like best? And if 12 people like option A and 8 go with B, he'll go with option A. He'll go with a consensus because that feels right. It feels like it fits in more. And Walters are the ones that will want to talk to you for 20 minutes compared to Edith, who wants 2 minutes. They'll ask you how you are. They'll tell you how their day's been. They'll tell you the story of their lunch, everything. And they're the people that probably piss Edith off the most because they're like, gee, can we just get to the point? And then the last person you've got is Fiona. So Fiona is the one that is always got the good ideas, really creative, thinking of something new all the time, usually a lot of energy, a lot of body language when you're talking to them. Probably just, they don't stop and listen to what you say. They just crack on with something else because their brain is going, oh, I've just thought of something and I'm just going to say it. And they're not very good at sticking to a task. They kind of move on quite quickly and get distracted quite easily. And so that's how you can tell when you're talking with someone like that, because conversations feel quite fragmented. They feel like they don't follow a structured path, and you find you've covered everything apart from the one thing you wanted to talk about. And you know what? Sometimes I can tell someone like that when they walk into a room because they might have bright red hair. They might have this lady. They might have lots of bangles. Guys in suits will have pinstripe suits and pink socks. Because they want to be different. They want to stand out. And they're great at making decisions, a bit like the Ediths, but it's on impulse. It's not on weighing everything up and making a decision there and then. It's just on that looks shiny and new, I'll have it. And then, worry about the consequences afterwards. But when you know who you're talking to and you can pick up on those signs, and if they're not obvious to start with, you just ask them some questions, ask them how their weekend's been, ask them how their day's been, and you're either going to get the short answer, the structured answer, the very wordy answer, or the random answer. You get a clue of who you're speaking to, and then you can adapt how you talk to them. So your point about talking about objectives, then, do you know what, Edith, this is what I need it by Friday. Any questions? No. Great, done. Aaron, right, here's what I need you to do, but this is why I need you to do it. And these are the steps that I think you need to go through. And this is when I expect it. Walter, this is what I need you to do. But I feel like this is good for you. It kind of, I think your strengths really play to this objective that I'm kind of talking about here. I think it will be good for your development. It'd be nice to work with you on this. So you make them that emotional connection. And with Fiona, it's just like, right, here's a new objective. It's going to be the best thing we work on this week. I need you just to drop everything else you're doing and pick this up, and let's catch up on it tomorrow morning and make it exciting. And you'll get all 4 of those people doing what you need them to do as a boss.
What do you think? Well, I've got my opinion on it, but one of the things that I've found in working is that a lot of people always say the hardest thing about business is the employees. But do you think a lot of that does come from the communication side, where a boss just expects to say something and expects a specific behaviour from their employees, and they're not necessarily getting the best out of them.
Yeah, yeah. And, communication is a two-way thing. So, do you know what? As a boss, you've got to communicate to your people in a way that works for them. So all those Ediths, Aarons, Walters, Fionas, you need to think about who you've got. But equally, you need to think about how they communicate with the boss as well. I've got to think, how do I get my boss on board with what I'm about to tell them, or what I need to say, or what I need to do? I need to adapt my style. So it does work both ways. But, we touched on it just before I started describing the four. The hardest thing and the worst thing is when people talk to other people in a way that works for them. Because, do you know what? Sometimes that'll work and sometimes it won't. What's even worse is when people recruit people who are like them, because they see the synergies, they're interviewing them and they're going like, you're just like me, you get me, you're going to be great in this team. And I had a brilliant example when I ran a communications workshop, and I had a guy in from a housing association up here, and he had one of those epiphany moments. He sat back and he said, do you know what? It's just made it really clear now why nobody ever wanted to work with my team. Literally, we would get feedback every 6 months when we did an employee engagement survey that said we were just horrible to work with. We didn't collaborate. We didn't open up. And he said, it's because that's me. That's my style. I'm quite like that. And I recruited a team of people like me. So the door was never going to be open for people to work together, because we all just wanted to get on with what was important to us and forget everyone else.
Yeah, I did a bit of work with a guy called Steve Knapp, and he's called the sales mindset coach on LinkedIn. And he got me thinking about something when I was doing some sales, and I didn't really particularly like sending emails as a cold email, because I used to get them all the time and just click delete. So my preference was to phone call or just do a cold call and turn up. But exactly what you're saying there, it's because I didn't read an email. So what he was trying to say to me is, look, there's people out there who do read emails, but you don't. So you're just choosing your preferred method of working. And it just got me thinking that, yeah, it is. It's, I'll speak to people who I think I want to be spoke to, and I'll put my expectations on other people. If someone tells me to do a task, I'll go out and carry it out. But that's not necessarily the case with everybody.
No, an email's a great thing. People sometimes say, you can't adapt your style on email. And it's like, you bloody well can. I worked with someone who, he was, from those people perspective, he was quite a strong Edith type character. But he was customer facing. He was kind of like a senior customer account manager. And he had there was this long email conversation that had been happening. And I was in their office, and he said, James, can you come over and look at this email? I've got to send it to this customer. It's got to be the last email because otherwise we're just going to keep going to and from. I'm going to go grab a brew. I'll grab you one. Can you just read the email and tell me if you think it's right? So I looked at what he'd written and then went straight to the bottom of the email chain and started from the beginning, so that I could read what he'd put, but I could read the way in which the customer had emailed. And that gave me all the clues of who they were. He was trying to talk to them in that get to the point way, but that wasn't their style. Their style was about saying how this process, it was a utility company, so how this process of kind of setting up a new electricity connection for their house had made them feel, because it hadn't been done on time, the quality wasn't good enough, they felt ripped off. And the whole email chain was about how she felt. And he's just going straight in for the kill every time. So I reworded his response and I said, right, there you go, gave him the laptop. And he read it and he said, I get what you've done there. You've covered all the same points. It's just, I was telling her to do one, and actually you're saying, I'm sorry, I recognize this process has been difficult. This is how I'm going to close it off for you. And I was like, yeah, but I just had to take 5 minutes to read how she communicated to adapt the style. And that's on email. No tone of voice, nothing like that, just words.
So there's an element, would you say there's like sort of, even though it's email, there's an element of mirroring. So the way that they're speaking in an email, and you said before, one of the characters, if he's putting bullet points, then it might be it's something you reply to and put bullet points on there.
100%. Mirroring is such a great thing. And you can do it on text. You can do it on chat. I work with teams, you know, customer service teams who are on the phone, they're on chat, they're on email. And it is just pick up on the style of the person as best you can and mirror it. And it's the same, you know, when you're face to face, and kind of mirroring, I think, originated from using your body language to mirror it. So, you know, if you started scratching the side of your head, I'd start scratching the side of my head. It gets to a point where you'd be like, James, what are you doing? Why are you copying me? But you do it subtly because it makes a connection with people very subtly every now and again. And it just breaks down almost an invisible unknown barrier so that they're more open with you. They give more away, which in sales is perfect. You know, you need to know as much as you can from people. So yeah, mirroring's good and absolutely can work on email. And it's probably harder on the phone because you can't see words written down. You can't see body language. You've got to go with their tone of voice. And, you know, they might have an accent. I mean, you know, they might be Widnesian, they might be Southern, they might be from Wigan. And you've got to pick up on, you know, between that and think about, what am I hearing? You know, am I hearing them talk about their feelings? Am I hearing them talk about the facts? Am I hearing them talk about the excitement? You know, what is it they're saying? And how do I mirror some of that?
And using the words that they use, maybe.
Play back some of the words. Paraphrasing is important. So interpreting what they said in your way, because then that shows you were listening. But use some of their words. If there's particular words that stand out that isn't words you would use, but is definitely ones they've used, then absolutely play them back.
I did when I first retired from rugby and I went into coaching, I worked with a guy called Craig White, very successful strength and conditioning coach, worked in rugby union, British Lions, Wasps, currently working over on a consultancy basis all over the world now with rugby union. And I thought, this guy's going to be fantastic in terms of the information that he's going to pass over to me. Become very close to Craig and a good friend. But for the first couple of weeks, we spoke a lot about mirroring. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what the hell's this got to do with coaching? But now it all makes sense because, you know, no matter what you're doing, you the person you're communicating with has got to have that buy-in, you know, into what you're doing. So he was basically trying to explain to me that, look, I don't give a shit what your programs look like to a certain extent, because you can have the best programs in the world, but if those guys won't run through walls for you, then it's pointless. Yeah. And it's exactly the same in business, in work.
It is. And as we've talked about before, you know, because I captain one of the rugby teams here, it's, you know, we just do it for a laugh. You know, we're not serious. We've never reached amazing levels in our career, but we just love playing rugby. But even as a captain, you know what? I still want to win. I still want to beat St. Helens, and I still want to beat whoever else we're playing. And so I've got to think about the people in my team, and I've got to think about, how do I get into their head so that they give me 80 minutes of brilliant rugby in the position they play, with the capability they've got and the skills they've got, so that they give their best game? And how do I manage people who I want to put on the subs bench to start with, so that they don't feel let down, but they feel ready to get on the pitch 20 minutes in, 40 minutes in, or whatever. You know, it is about knowing their personality and mirroring it to some extent when you're talking with them, and playing to what motivates them. Yeah,
I mean, if you look at when you listen to players who have played under Sir Alex Ferguson, and not just in football or rugby, in any sport, people who have been coached, they always say, oh, he got the best out of me. But, you know, they sort of, I think top class coaches seem to have this knack of understanding people on an individual basis and treating everybody different. And I think it's a great quality to have that, because it shows that, you know, you're thinking and in a way probably caring about getting the best out of someone. If you just treat everybody the same, it can tend to be all about you as a coach, I think, you know, and that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and there's different in kind of world I'm in, there's different types of coaches. You have people who are pure business coaches, you have people who are pure life coaches, and then you have people who are in between. I kind of sit in the in-between bit, and it doesn't mean I go from being marketing plan, strategy, blah, blah, through to fluffy clouds, how are we feeling? Let's do some yoga. But it's that bit that says, do you know what? You're the human being. And so to be successful in your business or your career, I need to know what makes you tick. I need to know a bit about you and your personality and what you've gone through that makes you who you are today, and why maybe you struggle at going in and pitching to a prospective client, maybe why you hate talking to a camera. So, it could be back from something they went through at school. It could be early in their career, but it's important for me to know that, because there's no point in me pushing them or, coaching them down a certain route that I think is the right route for them when they're going to push back against it and they're going to rebel against it. It's, it definitely is about the person. And I think as a coach, you can't just be robotic about it. You've got to think about the person all the time, and you've got to know when to stop and say something isn't right. There's something not right. And I had that with a client once who she'd left her career. She'd started her own business. She was very much a Fiona, loads of amazing ideas, and I had to really try and keep her on track with stuff as best I could for her, because she's launching this business. And then we sat there we met at kind of a Costa near Chester, and we sat there and I thought, you know what, I'm doing something wrong here. Her reaction isn't the same. Her energy isn't the same. And have I lost it? Have I lost my coaching touch here? Do I just need to say, do you know what? I think, I might not be good for you anymore. And so I just paused it and I just said, look, there's something not right here. And if it's me, and I'll own that. Or is there anything I don't know? And she kind of just sat back and she went, my husband and I have just found out I'm pregnant. And so her, where she's got this plan of launching a business and doing all this stuff suddenly changed. So her head is full of, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I need to go back to a corporate job. But she just wasn't sharing it. And so I couldn't tell until I just stopped and said, something's broken, and, let's try and fix that. And that was perfect, because she told me, and then it's like, right, okay, let's talk about this for 10, 15 minutes. And let's get it all out. And then we know, right, okay, so what does the future look like now? Does it need to change? Does it just need to tweak slightly, or what? But, if I'd have been robotic, I might have not picked up on it, or I might not have cared about it and then done anything about it.
Yeah. I think it's a big one, Charles. I think, there's the person that you are, but then there's an element of your upbringing as well, and probably things that we lacked. I know, I can refer back to sport, but I know people who wanted the rocket up their arse. I knew people who needed an arm wrapped around them, different personalities. And some of that does go back to, when we was younger and how our parents brought us up and the language that they used. And, is that something you have to delve into as a coach?
Yeah. There's, just as you were saying that, there's kind of two people that come to mind. And one was, as well as coaching while I was at O2. And I worked with this team on kind of how they were as a team, but then I agreed to coach each of the managers in the team. And so we did some like emotional intelligence type profiling as well. And I'm sitting with one of the ladies, one of the managers, and we're talking through kind of her ambitions and where she wants to be. And a bit like that story with the client more recently, I could tell something was wrong. And so I said, what's stopping you wanting to go for this? Have you tried it before? Have you had your fingers burnt? And she said, you know what? It's because I have this heavy weight of expectation from my parents, particularly my dad, of what a successful career looks like. He was a successful doctor. He always wanted me to follow that route of medicine. And so I felt, because I've gone into, this world of telecoms and particularly HR and being a manager, I feel like I'm never measuring up in his eyes, and that he'll always think I never quite made it. And that holds me back from, I don't want to go for another job, because if I do and I get it, I want to say to him, Dad, I got this job. But I just think he'll just think, yeah, but it's not medicine, is it? And we had to get through that you know, we talked through it, just like, have you ever spoken to him about it? Have you said, you know, asked him how he feels about what you're doing in a job? Because you're doing good. You know, you're a manager in a team, you're successful, you've got a, you know, your life is brilliant and you've got good balance. Have you ever said to him, you know, are you proud of me, Dad? And she was like, no. But she had to overcome that. And then and yesterday, there's a guy I spoke to. I've been emailing with him for a bit. And I mean, nice guy, he's 21. And I actually got connected with him because I used to work with his dad at O2. His dad was quite senior and he passed away recently quite suddenly. And so this guy put a post on LinkedIn saying, you know, just to let all of my dad's connections know that, you know, he's died really suddenly, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just dropped a note to him saying, you know, I loved him to bits. He was a great guy, really sorry. You know, hope all's well with you. Hope you're doing okay. And we just got chatting on LinkedIn. We then kind of carried on an email. We spoke on Teams yesterday because he's finishing off his uni degree. And he's got a bit of an idea of what he wants to do. And I was just kind of giving him some tips about, you know, where I think he could start looking. But he just said, you know what, I really need this. I'm speaking with you. I'm speaking with another of my dad's friends who I know he really respected. And, you know what, I've just got to break away from being bone idle. You know, I've coasted along my GCSEs and my A-levels. You know, I did work experience with my dad, but I just hated that whole getting up and traveling to the office and being in the office. And I know that I'm just kind of bumbling along now and it's not going to cut the mustard when it comes to, you know, having a job. So I need focus. I need a bit of a plan and I need to put something in motion to make me want it. But it was good. You know, he's 21 and he's realizing that. That's a great time to realize it, not when he's 35 or 40 and he's trying to work out why he's not got to where he wants to be. So yeah, do you know what? I think, you know, we are, certainly as we go through those years, we are influenced by our parents, by the society we live in, the culture, you know, of our household, what their values are, what their beliefs are. You know, my dad loved working in the office, complete taskmaster, never present, always in his laptop or his computer as it was then. You know, and that shaped what I thought a successful career looked like, you know, and that's what I followed for 7 or 8 years until I went bush, headstone, psoriasis. Wrong answer, James. And realised that I needed to break away from what I thought I had to do because of my upbringing and actually what I wanted to do based on what I'm good at and what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, and you touched on, you know, the lady who said that, you know, she had this expectation of her dad having a successful career and, you know, you touched on it again, the communication, just speak to the people about it. I think that's one thing that there's a lot of, we can have barriers up, but we're scared of sort of putting across how we feel to people. I've done that a lot, you know, where I felt a certain way, but I don't want to mention it to a certain person or, you know what, this is how I feel about this situation. Thinking that it's a massive deal and it's not. And I think that holds a lot of people back, doesn't it, with making decisions on the career.
Yeah, on how they feel and how they think other people will feel about it. And they just don't know. You know, and gut feel is all about the feeling. It's different to making a logical decision up here, but it's important because your gut is driven by something deeper, something that's important. And if you've got all, you know, everything lined up properly here, you know, you've put demons to rest, you've you know, overcome those kind of things that hold you back, your gut instinct will be a really good one because it comes from a proper basis and, you know, you live into your values, you're doing what's important to you. But yeah, talking, you know, just saying, you know, this makes me feel whatever, or when we work together and when you talk to me like that, it makes me feel like this. It opens it up, it breaks down barriers because you can't deny how someone's feeling. No one can say, no, you don't feel like that because it's like, I do. I kind of do.
Yeah, I know it's great. Hindsight's a great thing, but I wish I'd have had a little bit more of more sort of courage to do that, because what you said there, it's my thing was about how the other person would feel about it. I didn't want them to make them, you know, upset them. And I think you know, people pleasing is a big thing for me. You know, I like people being happy, and sometimes I'm scared of saying the things that I want to you know, say to them. But nothing is ever, you know, a massive deal, and I think people appreciate it more when you do say, "Look, this is how I feel when this is going on," provided it's put in the right manner and in a grown-up manner. But again, something else you said there, you know, that has been a big one for me. Someone said about the head and the heart. You know, if it comes from the heart, it's what you truly believe. But sometimes your head will try and trick you into something else. And now I've got a bit of a. I understand that a lot more now. I don't know whether it's come with age or what, making bad decisions, but I know when a decision needs to be made in terms of, and it's the right one for me, what I generally believe in. Like I said, these job offers that I've had, you know, my head's telling me to, but my heart's telling me not to. So that's, sometimes the head's a bit stronger than the heart.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you've got to make a decision in the moment. And sometimes it's not a decision because someone's placed it on your doorstep, you know, and you've got to front it up there and then. Sometimes it's just, do you know what? I know I need to make a decision on you know, something I need to do when I'm ready for it. Whatever it might be. I've got to make a decision to stop playing rugby. I've got to make a decision to stop being a rugby captain. I've got to make a decision to close my business. Whatever it is, do you know what? If you don't need to make it there and then, and you can't make the decision there and then just let it go. Don't make the decision the other way. Don't say no, but just sleep on it. You know, and the next day you might wake up with a bit more clarity. It might be the next week. It might be a month later. But, you know, it will become clearer because you'll just reflect on it. You'll think about it. You might speak to other people and then you make the right one.
James, it's been a pleasure, mate. It's been a great chat, and it's stuff I love talking about. You know, the communication, you know, how people respond. You know, it's so. I'm finding it so valuable in what I'm doing at the minute, and you know, it's great to have, you know, your expertise on it, you know, coming as a business coach. So, you know, really appreciate you coming on and giving us your side of it. It's been very interesting.
Yeah, brilliant. No, thanks for inviting me, Paul. It's I love listening to your podcast, and just they're like a chat. It's like a chat with a mate. That's what I love about it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's exactly how I always feel every week. You know, I've been sat here and then I've had to, you know, I've just sort of been in the conversation, and it's just as though like we're sat in a Costa coffee, we're having a chat, and that's the old vibe that we want. You know, it's not an interview, it's a chat, and we just go from one thing to another. So, man, I'm pleased you've enjoyed it, and I really appreciate you coming on and giving your background and your expertise.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking, Paul. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, James.
Nice one. Thanks, Paul.